You know what time it is, people. It's time for Coral Castle and the Edward Leedskalnin mystery. We got us here, one of them mysteries. Everybody taking a shot at it. Companies out there asking me to take a shot at it. Companies going, come on, give it up now. All right, well, I'm going to give it my best here. I think Ed and Tesla were in on some high technology. They were both using a little bit of each other's work. Anyways, this place is down in Miami. It is Coral Castle, Miami. Edward built this big giant monstrosity. One of the stones is like 20 tons. Hundreds and hundreds of tons of stone. And it's a big castle. It's on the road to Key West, which I should be right now, but I'm stuck up here in New England, freezing to death, the mini ice age. And, it's just basically, it's just quite the place. You guys probably checked it out on YouTube. It's got, a bunch of stonework, moons, tables. It's got the big building in the corner, massive stones, massive door, and just an unbelievable place. He spent a lifetime putting together. Here he is by his generator. This has been mislabeled as a generator. It's also a motor. It was a motor, it was an electric motor, and he's out there and he's got a little crank handle on it right there. Well, that, my friend, is an eccentric. This is an eccentric device right here. He used that to he could put weights on it, and basically this thing was a vibratory motor generator. So he could have it balanced and use it to generate power, and then he would offset it on purpose to vibrate. And he would move it around the compound as needed. So basically what he did, he got this thing harmonizing at almost a critical frequency of the coral he was harvesting. And he could cut it, shape it, move it, and flex it around. Right here you can see there's the magnets. He's got this is his engine block that he used, but you'll see the crankshaft. Basically he would put weights on it and get this thing to vibrate at a certain frequency. And you can see some old crank, what do you call it, those connecting rods. They connected to the crankshaft. I mean, it was just using us to hold this together, just putting that out there. But these little, little offsets in the motor, he would use to put weights on and get the right frequency for this thing to vibrate. And he would bring it to the locale of where he was harvesting the stone and cutting the stone, and get the vibrations, up to the proper frequency where things could be cut a lot easier. He would get that whole area harmonizing. This is a picture of somebody that turned it into a motor with a couple of magnets and got this thing spinning. So it was a motor also. It was a generator and it was a motor. They call it MG set or whatever you want to call it, but motor generator. But he had this thing working both ways. A lot of people just thought it was a generator. It wasn't just a generator, it was a motor. And as you tell with this picture, it had some RPM, so it could vibrate, and it had all those magnets and everything. It was a giant flywheel, so it could handle the vibrations that this thing used to put out. All right, so that's it. So we're talking about this device was an eccentric motor that cranked out some vibrations. Okay, cymatics. We're talking about cymatics here. And here's a big door. I think it was 40 ton or 20 ton on this thing. Just incredible, So I mean, he cut it, moved it, put it up there, get the blocks up on top. It was like 10 ton a piece. on the side. It's quite the feat. So, okay, so let's look into the signature. Everything on the planet, most everything on the planet, has a magnetic signature on it because it's just lying in the earth, and eventually it's going to have some kind of a magnetic pull to it. And in this particular case, we'll look at this as like sedimentary rock, but not even sedimentary rock. Look at it as coral. Coral in and of itself has a magnetic signature also, because it's just sitting there for thousands and thousands of years. It's going to get a north and a south pole in it. So what Ed would do in his infinite wisdom, he would harvest out a block. Okay. Now he was living, at the place where the coral was. It wasn't like he was driving 20 miles down the road, cutting a piece of stone or coral and bringing it back to Coral Castle. It was right there. I mean, he was building it on coral. So he had the, the quarry, if you will, of coral, or the materials readily available. So what he would do was cut a piece of coral, and he would flip it. Okay. And when he flipped it, he put the, it'd be positive against positive. If you play with magnets, you put positive against positive, they repel each other. So once he flipped the stone, he got a stone, he would flip it over onto the quarry ledge itself, or the quarry coral itself, the main base, the main substrate, which had an embedded signature of the earth. He would flip it around, and then this way he could, he had the two trying to repel each other. So that was the first thing he did. This helped him move these things around. Okay. Then he had his giant tripod there, and you can see he's harvesting a piece of stone out, or somebody's harvesting something out, and he's pulling it out, lifting it up. And like I said, he would move it out, flip this thing over, and this iron door was actually a blade. I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of pounds this thing was, but this was a blade, and it would hook up the chain, and he could swing it back and forth. Now that device, that motor generator, he could also hook it up to that and have it going back and forth. I saw a couple of videos that they were using some kind of magnetic plunging device, but I mean, I've been around magnetic plunging devices. They're pretty good for like moving, very lightweight, but you're not going to move a 3 or 4, or a 1,000-pound door going back and forth as it's cutting through coral. However, if you hook it up to this device, you could hook up this. Now, just imagine this thing's vertical, and you grab one of the crankshaft offsets. You could hook it up to something, and basically it'd be reciprocating and pulling that door back and forth over a period of time with the vibration adage. And this is basic eccentric technology right here. This is vibratory motor. You got a regular motor here. You got a shaft. And you have weights or an offset, right? Eccentric shaft. So this in and of itself causes vibration. So what Edward did was he somehow stumbled onto the correct vibration that allowed him to cut this stuff a lot easier and transport it after he flipped it over and changed the poles, went positive to positive or negative to negative. And he got some kind of a working mechanism going with the stone, and got it to move. Okay, so this is an eccentric right here. You got a weight, it's offset, and it's just causing vibrations. It's pretty simple stuff. Here's a reciprocating thing with reciprocating device. Basically, you can see that's the crankshaft of the motor. And this is just a device going back. This will be the door, just going back and forth over time. And don't forget the vibrations, okay? So he had somatics too. So he had the vibration, he had that device, and he had a little two-wheeler where he would move that thing around the whole property to wherever he was working and doing his fine cuts or his large cuts. And he stumbled into a frequency where things, you got the whole ground vibrating and moving, he was in the zone. Okay, so this is what Ed was into, and that being said, this is like somatics. You know, this is vibration. This is, you know, he's down there. He's just, you know, getting everything going into a nice natural frequency and flexing things back and forth. So, in essence, it's pretty simple. He was, you know, he's very secretive about it, and you know, this is they're working today's technology. They're doing this stuff. They're you know, getting things floating around. They're pointing you know, sonar or using sound frequency to levitate objects. So Ed was in essence vibrating everything around him while he was working on this stuff. So, you know, if you got the right vibration going on an area where you're cutting stone, you could just drop a stationary blade onto the stone, and it would, you know, it would eventually cut its way through. Or you could have went with the reciprocating combination with sound, not sound, with vibration, and get everything flexing and all the you know, you could hit a critical frequency with this stuff, and you could really be you know, cutting through stuff very quickly. Here we go, Tesla. He's the inventor of the earthquake machine. Here's the earthquake machine here. You know, you get a nice frequency. You start moving things around. Everything's got a critical frequency. And once you hit that critical frequency, you know, basically the you know, the atomic structure actually starts to get weak. All right, well, it's everything's space around us. Everything, you know, everything solid is, you know, is 99% space, and anything that you see is solid. So once you get into the frequency of these, you know, of mass, solid mass that we appear, you know, in our dimension, we see things solid. But once you get the frequency of vibration, right up to a, you know, the critical frequency point, you know, you get subcritical, you got, you know, critical frequency, and once you hit those, you know, critical frequency, things just break apart, right? They just get weak. So our man Ed, in his infinite wisdom, stumbled into this with his little motor here, his little motor generator. You know, he would attach weights to this thing, and like I said, he could have put a weight on top. He had the handle right up here. He could have put a weight on top, right up on there. Got this thing spinning around, like in the other picture there I showed you. It was motorized. A couple of geniuses on YouTube got this thing cranking. My God, they had this thing got to have been going 1,000 RPMs at least, if not more. I mean, this is a lot of weight. You know, it's 100 pounds of mass just spinning to beat the band here. So, you know, to recap, that's all it is. It's just he was using vibration, he was using somatics and magnetism. Okay, so once you got the what do you call it there? Trying to get to the right picture. Come on now. Once he figured out, you know, if you read his books, he was definitely fully aware of the magnetic signatures on the planet and working with them. So he knew there was a signature in the coral, and once you flip it around, then you already have some kind of a repelling in between the two slabs. There's an energy force that wants to repel it, and then you throw the vibration. You know, this is the base, right? This is the quarry itself, and this is the piece you just cut. So once you get that vibration frequency inside, you know, in this area, he was probably just pushing it by hand. You know, once you got it up and flipped around. So. That's what I'm going with. You know, that's my final answer. All right, here's the big blade, the big door used to cut, and it was just reciprocating. He took the engine, saw something in reciprocating value, and used it to you know, make devices for cutting. So it was a two point machine, right? It was actually 4 points. It was a motor, it was a generator, it was a vibratory machine, and it also was reciprocating to use for cutting. So, you know, you really got a lot of use out of that piece of equipment. Now, I was taken off to some high-tech technical colleges and taken apart, and they were just amazed at what he was able to do with with his abilities. Just coming up and inventing something so brilliant. So again, just throw a weight on the end of that shaft, and here you go. I mean, this is how he was moving. He was moving that door just a little bit. You only have to move it. You don't have to move it like 30 feet. It's just got to go back and forth an inch or two. Coral soft stone, heavy. It's heavy. I mean, the stones he was playing with are very heavy. And then once you got through cutting, he would shift this motor generator into vibration mode, put on some weights, get this thing humming at the right frequency, get everything flexing, and there you go, back at it again. He's moving and grooving. All right, there is something about the moon. It's one of my books out. Here's the website, tsatmoon.com, and Pyramid Gravity Force, and there's the website for that. My name is John Shaughnessy, and working on a few more videos. We cracked the code on those mystery towers out there in the Himalayas. We'll be doing that video next, and we're just moving on to one mystery after another. That's what we're doing here. So you guys keep hitting me up with some questions. We're all in this together. We're gonna straighten this stuff out. We're moving forward. So don't give up. Stick with it. All right, people. Hit some likes, share this stuff, and let's get some debates going. I'm putting it out there.